Hello, welcome back to our animation course. So far we've set up our spaceship skeleton. We have controls for a lot of the wing operations in cockpit. We have our cockpit open and close. We have left flap over here, up and down. We've got right flap, left wing, and right wing. So now we have our guns we need to do. So how about we choose the top one first. So the way we want our gun slider to work is as we scroll up from 1 to 10, it should hopefully do an entire fire animation and go back to its starting point. That's the idea. So with that in mind, we need to select our, let's do the middle joint first. And I just realized these haven't been named yet. So we want to name these the same as we have here. We have gun, there we go, gun barrel, gun, and then gun recoil. So let's name this one, say top or T gun recoil. And this one will just be T gun or top gun. And then we have T gun barrel. So let's select our T gun or top gun, go into our animation menu set, animate, set driven key, and set. So now our T gun middle section is being driven. We'll select our controls and say load driver and choose our top gun channel, and then for the T gun joint we want to animate the X-axis translate. So translate X. So with T gun, top gun at 0, so let's go back to 0. We want to key their current positions at their current state where there's no movement happening yet. So we'll hit key. And also if we take our top gun slider all the way up to 10, we also want it to be back at this position at the end of the slider. So when top gun is at 10, it should be back to this point again. So we'll go ahead and hit key again. So now we have two keyframes for our top gun joint, and they're both at the same position. So now let's change our top gun control slider to the 5 value, which would be in the middle. And now we can move our joint. So it's going to fire, so it's going to go and shoot back like this. And so at this position now, with the top gun control at 5, we can make our T gun translate X at this position and hit key. So now let's just kind of test this. So you see, as I from 0 scroll up to 10, it shoots and goes back to normal. Shoots, so I can just scroll back and forth like this. So we want to do that same kind of thing for the other joints as well. So I'm going to select the top gun barrel and say load driven. Again, we're using our translate X attribute. Make sure our top gun control slider is at 0 and hit key. Then we change top gun to 10, which is the top of the slider, or the end of the slider, and hit key again. So now we change top gun to 5. We want this joint to also kind of push in the gun as well, and hit key. So now let's see how this looks. So it kind of like so. And we're going to adjust this a little bit before we're done. So back with top gun at 0, we'll select the recoil, load driven, translate X, and key. Change top gun to 10, key again, get the current position for the T gun recoil, and then we'll change our spaceship control top gun slider to 5, the middle option, and then we'll move our recoil in like this and hit key. So now we get this kind of result. So we want to adjust this a little bit. I'm going to close that, and let's select our T-gun joint, hold shift and select the T-gun barrel joint, continue holding shift and select the T-gun recoil joint, and then I'll go to Window, Animation Editors, Graph Editor. So press the F key to frame this. You'll see we have our keyframes here, and you see because this is a set driven key animation, you can see here we have the word driven right there. So unlike before, whenever the lower number down here at the bottom was time in the time slider, like these represented frames, now this is representing the spaceship controls Top Gun value. So from 0 to 10 is our Top Gun slider value, and then we have along the side here are the actual translate values that we put in our channel box. So what I want to do is have the barrel shoot in first and then have the middle section of the gun move after that, as if it's reacting to the barrel coming back and pushing the middle cylinder back. So the barrel should move first and the T-gun should move a little bit after. So I'll select the T-gun joint here in the graph editor, select that middle keyframe, hit the W key to activate the move tool, and I'm going to move it slightly to the right, let's say 2 notches here. And now let's see how that looks whenever I scroll, whenever I activate the Top Gun slider back and forth. So what I also want to do is make it not move at the beginning of the slider as quickly. So let's grab that joint, the T-gun joint, open up my graph editor again. And I'll select the first joint and I'll move it a couple notches this way as well. So now let's grab our controls and see how that looks. So we'll grab this. So you can see that the gun barrel starts pushing in first, and then the center T-gun joint starts pushing in as a reaction, and then they all kind of snap back to place. Alright, so let's look at the recoil joint here. So let's grab these first 2 joints here and push them a couple of notches this way as well. And we'll kind of see how that looks. Grab our controls and scroll this around. Another way you can kind of test this is you can actually create just a little simple animation. Let's display UI elements time slider. So at frame 1, I'll right click and key selected on my Top Gun channel here. Let's see. Let's just go to the end of the current time slider. We won't worry about adjusting how many frames are in here or anything. And we'll key it again. And then around halfway, we'll take it up to 10. Key it again. So a little simple animation here. Hit play. So we kind of see how the that movement is working. So as this gun shoots, it'll kind of make this movement. So we'll stop this, and then I will right click on my Top Gun channel and say break connections, and that removes all the keyframes that we set for it. And I can put the Top Gun channel back to 0. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing with the right gun now. So we'll select the right gun joint. We'll go to Animate, Set Driven Key, Set. So our right gun joint has been loaded into the driven section. Select our controls and say Load Driver. This is the right gun, so we'll choose the right gun Spaceship Controls channel. And for the gun barrel itself, it's the Translate X channel we're worried about. So we'll say Translate X. Make sure our right gun is at 0. And with both Translate X for the right gun and the right gun channel selected here, we'll say Key. We'll change our right gun control to 10 and say keyframe again. And then we'll change our right gun control to 5 and move our right gun joint back for that recoil and say key again. So before we go too far, let's test this, make sure it's working the way we want to. And you'll see this issue happen. Now sometimes this happens when you're dealing with skeleton hierarchies, because of the orientation of the wing joint up here, it kind of affects the orientation of some of the joints below it in the hierarchy. And so even though we did move it into translate X, it still is doing this motion here instead of what we wanted it to. So I'm going to undo all this and show you how you can fix that. So now we've removed the keyframes from my right gun. It's no longer pink here. So we've undone those actions. So now let's instead of just using translate X, even though that's the only one we're actually moving, let's go ahead and key all three translate channels. So let's make sure our right gun control is back to 0. With all three translates selected now, we'll hit key. Take our right gun up to 10 and say key again. And now we'll take the control to 5. And this time, again, we'll move it back the way we did before. And we still have all three channels selected here and say key. So now let's test this and see how that works. So right gun, and now it works just fine. Just sometimes you have to kind of anchor that joint in place using all three translates if it kind of has a orientation issue like that. So to be on the safe side, you could just do that for all future gun objects as well. So we're going to continue with the rest of the gun. It's doing the same thing. Click load driven. I'm going to go ahead and select all translates again, just to keep that consistent. Change our right gun control to 0, hit key. Change right gun to 10, hit key. Change right gun to 5. And then we'll change our gun barrel joints position. So it's coming into the barrel like this, and hit key. So again, you can test it, and that's working. And we'll do the same for the recoil. Load driven, use all three translates. Change our right gun control, make sure it's at 0, which it is, and hit key. Change our right gun to 10. Oops, that's right wing. Right gun to 10. Hit key. And then right gun to 5. Select our recoil object and have it move in the way we want. And hit key. Again, all three translates selected. Now we'll choose our right gun control and see how that's working so far. And it's working fine. So now, just like before, we'll select, because we know this one's going to say the same, we're going to select our right gun, hold shift, right gun recoil. Minimize that, open our graph editor again. And even though we have all three translates selected, so we're going to select all these keyframes, the first and middle. Make sure our W key is pressed to activate move. We can hold down the shift key, middle mouse click and drag, and kind of move these joints to the right a couple notches like this. Minimize this. Grab our control again. That's the right gun control we're looking at. And now you can see how that barrel moves first, and then it causes the others to retract. And then they go back to their original position. So just repeat those steps again for the left gun, and you should be all set for our spaceship controls. In our next video, we're going to look at our landing platform and start getting that set up for animation as well. Thanks for watching. Hopefully these tips on how to fix issues as you come across them are helping. These issues are not uncommon, so it's just a matter of figuring out a workaround to get the result you're looking for. So thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.